first of all, our project is on presence one, where we aim to utilize the current advances in biometric technology to identify people wherever they might need to be identified. First, the value we are adding to the system, improving the current system from the perspective of easiness of using the system. You don't need to carry physical identification documents or even to carry any other physical identification. For you are identified from of who you are, not of what you
So if the government is your client, you are eliminating بطاقة الأحوال basically.
Yes.
This is just one use case.
الأحوال, الرخصة, and all
Yes.
the subsequent documents.
But how do you make money, just very quickly?
Now, our deployment, we aim to advertise this project to governments to add to their system. It can be used similar to SADAT system as a service advertised by the government. But we are selling the first we sell the product to the government, and we can also tailor the product for other government, but mostly for them. And for the system, my colleagues.
Like the design of the system, you mean?
Okay, for the system, it is designed to be in nodes, a hierarchy of nodes with a master, and it has a children of nodes. How each node will be representing a region or an area. That node will be contacted by the point of services for the shops, banks, hospitals. You will be requesting to be identified. So that node will be capturing your image, your biometrics that required, and try to identify using the built-in model in the node. If it cannot recognize you, you're not in that node, it will be contacting the one level of its neighbors to try to search for you. If you're still not identified through the neighbor, you will be sent, your biometrics will be sent to the master. So as we can see,
let's talk just in the interest of the time, let's talk about a specific use case.
Okay.
Let's say that you want to eliminate the national card, بطاقة الأحوال. Can you tell us very quickly how you're going basically to ask the citizen to come to an office, and if that citizen is going to use basically the service, how does he sign up, and how do you collect the biometrics, and then how do he receive service from another government organization using that, basically your system?
Okay, for the sign up, the user or the client will be asked to come to an office of an operator who is held by the government. His images will be taken, minimum of 80 up to 120 image will be stored in the system and will be used to recognize his image. Also, his fingerprints will also be taken for a second authentication factor. Aside from that, the government cannot still use the social security number, the national ID, as a third way to recognize the user in case the point of service or the nodes could not identify him using his biometrics.
But now the same exact person, he wants to open an account in the bank. How does the bank leverage or use this your service?
Okay. If we're talking about the identification for the bank, it's still the same as any other point of service. The bank will be requesting the node, the closest node to it, to identify the person. As for the transactions, a system like SADAT can be used in this scenario where the payment will be done through SADAT.
أبو عبد الله يبغى يقول حاجة.
Just here we are emphasizing in how to distribute the data between the nodes, for we are distributing in a hierarchical fashion, such that we minimize the time needed to search for every local data set, such that in the local node we search for the first iteration. If we couldn't find that specific person, we search the neighbor nodes. If in this case we didn't find him, we move directly to the higher node in the hierarchy. Mm-hmm. If all of these measures couldn't find that person, we directly go to the main node or the national node of the system.
Can you give us a quick demo before we start the question session?
As we were testing a few seconds ago, Just testing it on myself to ensure that it would identify me. I would ask one of my teammates to volunteer at the moment. No.
By the way, Abdullah is from Aramco sponsored in IT. So Sami, will see him next year, inshallah.
Well, he's going to see Sam.
Yeah.
So first we run the facial detection algorithm, which will primarily be running on the point of service. This will allows it to detect face and capture it. So this is the captured face, cropped and grayscale. Yeah. Afterwards, we will run the prediction algorithm. It takes about 40 seconds to load the model, biometric model, which is...
This is only, like, it happens only once?
For the
To collect the
problem,
feature?
The problem for the that is we are seeing right now is the loading of the model. This does not have to happen every time we try to recognize.
So basically you're getting the feature from the image.
Yes.
And you're storing them in your system.
But this is not the part what it's taking time. The part that's taking
No,
time
no,
is loading the model.
I'm not complaining about the time. I'm just trying to figure out what you're trying to do here.
Yes, we are trying to extract and
the
predict
picture
based on the
we
model.
just captured is just verifying that it's choosing the correct picture. Now, your nose.
But I hope, like, that's the you're not doing
It
it.
confused him with.
So that's what's the fault. Okay, good. So let's move on to then to
Not
so
to get nervous over a simple problem.
Yeah, no, it's
Fine.
just that last night we were doing last checks on this and.
so that's fine.
Is it the first time it can go?
No, because you're using too many guys with the beards. I mean, you should have been you and someone else. I mean,
Beards and glasses, huh?
I mean, beards and glasses. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm confused. I cannot tell the difference between the two guys.
I would have thought it was all right, you know, if you continued. Anyhow,
طيب Osama, it seems the
and the
same.
concept is clear.
Yeah. Okay. طيب Khalid, the concept's clear. Any question?
You know,
Sami,
I mean, the concept is clear, but it's like I see this as one of those trends that I mean, you guys seem to assume that pictures are perfect. I mean,
Exactly.
even the same person. I mean,
Just one example.
I mean, if he decides to يزبط اللحية, I mean, is the device gonna be capable of telling the difference?
It has to be
We
something
have a
like
secondary
retina or something.
application.
Oh, okay.
We have fingerprint also.
Oh, okay.
Proposed was the fingerprint, but we didn't have the budget or the time
Let me tell you, it's
buy
like
the fingerprint.
commercially, I've seen them also. The other group is doing Omni presence. It seems to be sort of a complicated and maybe expensive solutions to be deployed commercially. However, there are specific entities with very high risk data that would require this. And the way I would imagine this, seeing the issues you just faced and the comments we gave and the comments and the issue you just had with the camera, I would believe I work in an area with very sensitive information. And at some point we faced a situation where some information was available in the news. It's really hard to track it, but if let's say I was thinking if I worked in a government agency with this really sensitive department, I would like to walk into a certain area where it would recognize my voice, my weight, because my weight would not change significantly within a day or two, right? And maybe some facial recognition, and then I can walk in and do all the communication maybe with smaller or less sophisticated.
If you notice, listed on the poster, we have a list of biometrics that we consider.
Yeah, I saw that. The voice, the iris.
Facial recognition, the voice, the iris, the fingerprint, and there was the palm print. For intents for our system, we discarded the palm print because of it might be a little unreliable, considering any injury anywhere in the palm might affect the overall reading.
But I think the idea is great. The concept, the technical stuff. I think the most difficult thing is just figuring this, making it solid. Once that's done in a cheap way, then you start looking at is it cheap? What's the application?
By the way, I mean, these things, I mean, what you've tested here is known to have some reliability issues. But for example, Microsoft, when you want to log on to Windows in the past, in an enterprise, do not allow you to use biometrics because they're not reliable. Okay, you cannot log on with your face because it's not reliable. With a fingerprint because it's not reliable. However, that has changed very, very recently. And for example, there are things like real depth camera, they call them like that, where they have like a camera that takes a picture.
My laptop actually has a laser depth.
Yes, and this is, for example, these are very reliable at telling the difference between, you know, someone who basically just shaved his face versus, you know, the original picture. I mean, we've gotten to a point where biometrics are actually reliable enough to even be used to log on to sensitive systems. In Windows 10, for example, it's called Windows Hello. But again, I mean, don't make small issues, you know, get you down. I have a question. You were saying that why is it a problem when you wanted to go back to the database? You want to go one level up, then you want to go second level, and then if it's not there, you just go the first level. I mean, what is the limitation from going to the first level in the first place?
Usually, the problem is if someone lives in an area like a city of the Mam,
database size.
the database size would get significantly large. So we wanted to divide it a little bit so that, we want that the maximum specific node would have to carry is about 5,000 people.
Yeah.
Which would allow the biometric to model to work with some accuracy. So the local nodes are divided based on city location, so that they would contain no more than 5,000 people. And then if the person moves from one expected location to another, then we want them to be able to. We want the system to still be able to identify him. That's why, let's say the person is closer to this node, mainly for most of his daily life, but then he goes here to visit somebody or a friend. So this node would be able to broadcast a search request, and then if he's identified this area, then the information would be returned. Basically, the systems would transmit the biometric information required. So this node would capture the we're using the local binary pattern.
So my understanding of the system is identified on demand, right? So I'm not being tracked all the time. I go to the bank, they pull the system out to authenticate me, and then they'll serve me.
Yeah.
Right? So if that's the concept, then you don't need to go through this algorithm. I could go in and say, he's going to ask me, where are you registered? And I'll say, I'm registered in the MAM. And you just type in the MAM, and the system will just find it. Right?
That's one possibility, but we wanted the possibility that as soon as the person asks for the service, then the agent would capture the image and the system would return the information.
But that algorithm will be time consuming. Believe me, saying from the MAM is much faster than going through this multi-level algorithm.
Here, you could say we are preparing the stage for the next step that we are emphasizing here, that we want to go one level higher and we can deploy it everywhere, anytime, 24/7.
Yeah, no problem. But it's still going to be on demand.
Yeah.
It's still you're going to be interacting with somebody.
No. Our future, we want it to actually live up to its name, omnipresence, so that it can identify you and track you almost everywhere.
Okay, this is the word that I don't like. Track me up.
I
So
know.
it seems tracking is
a lot of people would have problems with that.
the main concern today.
Whether you like it or not, we are being tracked, and wherever you go, they know.
We are already heading in that direction.
Yeah,
we just want to take a part in it.
We should not help it. But anyways, regardless of. So I like the fact that it's on demand. I like that I will not need to carry my identification.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's just for me, it's just a basic question: which city or which set of people, which jail cell you come from, and then they're fine, right? They can look me up and find me, and I like that, and I like the fact that, I mean, the concept itself I like. Except I would not go with facial biometrics. I would probably use retina.
In our research, we did discover that the iris recognition, because retinal scans require a deeper scan of the eye, usually it requires the person to be really close.
Which is fine because you're still on demand, right? You walk to the cashier and the cashier will say, will I identify you, still sit there, even if it takes you 30 seconds to be identified, fine, because it's on demand.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, even if they improve it and instead of 30 seconds, you're there for 10 seconds, I don't think, it's not going to affect my life that much.
Yeah.
But the fact that I don't need to carry an ID with me,
Yeah.
this will
Okay, one final thought from Sami.
So what are you planning to do with this? So okay, fine, you're identifying. But what is the scope of this project? I mean, what do you do with this information? Is it just to identify?
Well,
Because, for example,
yeah.
I'm seeing other projects where okay, they want to have like a communication system,
Yeah.
but in order to have this communication system, they have to have an identification layer.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're describing since we came here is how is this identification happening, but what do we do with this?
The original prospect at the beginning of the semester, when we chose our areas of work for these projects, was that this would be the omnipresence part 1, which would be the identification layer,
I see.
and their group would be omnipresence 2, which is the secondary level where you can remove the communication devices so that the communication terminals would do that. So, yeah, it is based off of this one, but it's a separate system by itself, but this is the base identification layer. Also, as I mentioned about a minute ago, the scope was the intent to be able to track people, to be true omnipresence. That was the original scope. We downsized it a little bit because of the research into the privacy issues, but in future direction, we would plan that as the people get more adapted to cameras being everywhere, we would expose them to the full extent of our system as we originally intended it to.
So I'm going to ask a question. How are you going to make money off of this?
Yeah.
We send it to the government.
Yeah, well, there's the sale to the government, the maintenance, the training of employees or operators that they're going to have running the system, and then.
So my next question is, how are you going to sell it to the government?
Well, there's the.
People are not going to carry their wallets? Is this what you're going to tell them?
Well, we're still working on a official governmental pitch.
So the government pitch should be, this is you're addressing security issues, where people like police cars would be fitted with these systems that are connected to the internet, and you could identify people through the retina print, okay, without them having fake IDs or whatever, or telling you I don't have an ID.
Yeah, that was one of the uses when we were discussing it as a rough draft idea. One of the uses was because I was considering the point where there are so many checkpoints, especially close to Aramco and KPPM. So the concept was I wanted to be able to come up at the checkpoint and the person, if he wants to identify me, instead of taking my iqama and going to his computer and inputting the number, he would just have a scanner, handheld scanner, which would be the using fingerprint or iris or retinal, depending on what biometric the system we would consider to be the most reliable as the technology develops. But the concept was that you would get the information about the person, name, birth, social security number, and the registered car to his name. So you would be able to verify that this is indeed the person, this is indeed his car. It would make identification and the security checkpoints a lot more streamlined. That was one of the ideas when we considered it in a rough draft, but
Okay.
never.
طيب يعطيكم العافية. طيب